So, today I want to make a little bit of a different video and talk about this little fella and the clan in general, which is Dimension Police. So, those of you may or may not be aware, I am a Dimension Police main, and I mean, that's probably fairly obvious considering that Daikaiser has been like on my, the outro part of my video for as long as I've been doing YouTube basically, but for those of you that have only been watching me since recently might not know the reasons why, and so I'll give a warning already. This video is going to be a little bit on the, not so much emotional side, but it is like just a personal story, and so if you're not into that, then I won't oblige that you watch, because I know some people just don't like hearing those kind of things, because I don't know, they just don't like it, and I mean, I understand perfectly well why. And so today I'm just going to talk about essentially why this clan is my number one, why it's my main, and basically no matter what direction it would go in, it always will be. Even if I don't like the support for it at some point, like in the future, let's say, I'm still always going to like it, like no matter what, in terms of just what it is as a clan. So I'm going to give some context. Like, I've been playing this game since the end of 2011, and when I started it was around BTO4 in Japan, and English Vanguard had not begun yet. It was just about to, actually, and so when it came out, obviously DP was already out, but I didn't care so much because I was just watching the anime, and Kote didn't stick out too much from the first few episodes. I think the anime was about episode 40 of season 1 at that time, so that was just around like when Kote actually had a little bit of feature, but still not enough to really be a fan. Like, the whole Great Daisha stuff didn't happen yet to convert a lot of people. And so then I was really into Shadow Paladin, and so my first deck was not Shadow Paladin, because when the game came out in English, we didn't get Shadows until almost a year into the game, and so I started with Gold Paladin, which was Spectral Duke because I like Ren, and I wanted to play the decks that the characters that I like play it. That was one of my main reasons to like Vanguard a lot when it first came out, was because you could actually play anime decks. Like, that's why, like, when I played Yu-Gi-Oh back in the day, I would always play the decks that the anime characters play, because that's what I liked as a kid. And so then when I got into Vanguard, I was like, ooh, basically everyone plays these anime decks. Like, all the decks in the game are anime decks in a way. And so that was really exciting to me, so I basically built all the decks that Ren had, so those Shadows and Golds. And then when Pale Moon came out, I also built that because I like Asaka, and so that's kind of the context. But the reason why I liked Ren and Shadows was because I was a bit of an edgy kid in high school. I wouldn't say really like bullied or anything, but it's more just on the sense of like, I was quite reserved, and just, you know, things weren't doing, like, I wasn't doing so good in a lot of ways, and mentally I was not doing well, and then a lot of those, like, I don't want to go into depth, I guess that's the one thing I'm trying to avoid here, but essentially I was just not doing so well mentally in school, and so I felt that a lot of the time I was really bad at everything, and so, but I still obviously played Vanguard and I was in school and everything, but so I mained Shadows for a long time, and then there reached a point in my life where I felt that I was like really, really bad at everything, like school, everything possible. Like, I didn't really have anything that felt like it was good about me. Like, I had dropped all the instruments that I used to play, and like choir and everything. And so then after like feeling that way, one of my best friends, actually, you've seen him on the channel a couple times, basically like lifted me up from that and said, but you're good at Vanguard. And then that kind of like pushed me to start thinking more positively. And then soon after that, I wasn't always, I started watching anime maybe like a year before this, and then like watching anime like seasonal stuff, you know, regularly. And then I was starting to catch up on some of the stuff that came out before, and then I watched Gurren Lagann. And at this moment, I had been really against mecha. Like, I don't know what about me there was in high school, but I really didn't like mecha. Like, I never played with Transformers as a kid. I didn't really like robots as a whole, which is really hard to believe, I can imagine. I didn't like Gundam. I didn't like anything to do with mecha, basically. Robots just turned me off. And now I have some friends that also say the same thing, and I'm like, yeah, I used to be the same, I kind of get it. But at the same time, it's like, how could you? So, yeah, that was me in high school, in those years of high school where, you know, let's say the Shadow Paladin era, where I didn't like mecha at all. And so then I watched Gurren Lagann, my first mecha anime, really, and I fell in love with it, and it also again boosted me and lifted me out of this kind of like depressive state. And so, because I mean, if you ever watched Gurren Lagann, you know that how like motivating and how much it is about like self-growth and like becoming a better man and like, you know, being brave and all that good stuff. So that really boosted my ego and boosted, or maybe not ego, boosted my confidence, I think. That was like the start. I still was like shaking in front of classes. Like, imagine me now, like I'm casting worlds, but like when I had to give 2-minute presentations in class, I would shake like crazy, you know, like it was insane. And so after Gurren Lagann, after my friend like pushed me, I really felt like a new person, really. Like I wanted to become someone better, someone new in a way, someone that was like able to stand up for himself, and I was really inspired by Gurren Lagann in that sense, because it really has these messages that it pushes through, and I think it especially, I watched it at the perfect time for it to become like my all-time favorite anime for life, where it really just like, it really revived me in a way, I feel. So, and ever since then I've honestly been in a really, really great state. Like there's obviously still some ups and downs here and there when like stress levels are high because of work and university and stuff, but that's more like your regular daily life, you can't avoid that. But like in general, my like drive and just like mentality has been very positive. But you might be thinking, how is this even connected to Vanguard or Dimension Police? Well, after watching Gurren Lagann and feeling all these things, you know, I always when I'm feeling a certain way or I'm into a certain thing, I want to project it into the other things I love. Like for example, I remember like I played Zelda, or like some Zelda game that had just came out while playing Vanguard, and I was like, oh, I wish there was a Zelda clan in Vanguard, like so I could project it, you know, that I really like Zelda. Like things like that, that's just how my brain works sometimes. And so then after watching Gurren Lagann, I was like, I want to like play a robot deck in Vanguard, and I was like, what robot decks are there in this game? And then I was like, well, there's Novas and DP. And DP at the time, I think this was after the Great Daisha episode aired. I remember when that episode aired, it was weird because it was Ren versus Kote, so I was by default rooting for Ren. But then, like, I remember I was talking to my friend that we were watching together that episode with that fight, and I was like, I can't help but root for Kote. Like, that was such an amazing fight. And I rewatched that episode like 10 times on the day that it aired because I just couldn't get enough of it. Like, the entire, like, Great Daisha sequence was just so great. And then that was like the start of when I was like, oh, maybe I should build DP. But then I was like, no, I'm building Aquaforce from that set. And my teammate was playing DP, Neru, he was playing DP, so I was like, I can't build it because he's playing it. And so that's kind of like why I didn't play it at that point. But then after Gurren Lagann, I was like, okay, I need to build a robot deck. And then Daikaiser wasn't coming out for another like half a year, I think, or so in English. But he was already out in Japan. And so I already had an idea that I was like, oh, I really want to play this guy, but he's not out yet. And so then I built Risers, because I felt like Perfect Riser was kind of slightly resembling, but in hindsight, not really. But in the end, like, it was fun because it also felt like this, like, oh, go all in, it's just like, you know, YOLO, like, you know, just believe in possibility, etc. Like, it just felt kind of like a tropey anime, like mecha anime, in a sense. Super robot anime, to be precise, not so much like real robot shows, but the point that I'm trying to make here is that I built Risers at the time, but then it didn't really feel quite right, and I kind of got bored of the deck after a while. But then with Daikaiser, I felt like, oh, this really, really feels perfect, because I feel like it's the resemblance of like getting past like barriers and getting past like things that trouble you and like overcoming like your challenges in a way. And I felt like a lot of my high school self was that. And then even in the future, like I wanted to have this mentality of like, if there is something that's like troubling me or in my way, I need to make sure to overcome it, you know, and like not have a defeatist attitude. That's kind of like the main point there, is like to not have a defeatist attitude and just like challenge everything. And so I felt like Daikaiser was like literally what like the effect says in a way, is that you believe in this chance of like checking a grade 3 to do literally what is impossible. And like to me, when that clicked, I was like, that's it, like I'm building DP, like it's like goodbye. I didn't actually sell Shadows, I kept playing them until the end of, actually until Ren Legend deck, because it was just a good deck, so then I just kept it because it was also competitive. But then I built DP finally, and I couldn't be happier. Like, they released Daikaiser at the same time as Reverse Dayusha, so it was a pretty interesting deck, and I didn't play the like Crazy Diamond build either, because it just didn't, you know, resonate within me as much. But then, like, when they kept releasing new Daikaiser forms, like Great Daikaiser and then the Stride especially, it felt like the ultimate homage to Gurren Lagann for me in that sense. And so, yeah, that was literally why I picked up DP for the first time. But all these years, ever since I started playing it, like, it's always meant the same thing. It's just like, even when the support doesn't, like Sinbuster not necessarily, Grand Gallop not really, Dieliner not really, it's like it doesn't carry that same message that Daikaiser had, but because that's the card that kind of got me into it and like that gave me this feeling, it's like I fell in love with the whole clan in general. Like I remember I also then watched Bill Fighters, which is also really great. Like Gurren Lagann and Bill Fighters are two of my favorite. Gurren Lagann is like by far my favorite. It's like, you know, levels above everything else. But then of the lower levels, Build Fighters Season 1 is by far like my second favorite, because it's like the perfect tournament anime. And then I was watching, I remember Build Fighters, and then the whole idea of like customizing Gunpla and like building them to like be fit for a tournament, I was like, wow, that's just like a deck. And I was like, then I remember I would be sitting in philosophy class, and I would literally be taking notes of like my deck list for DP when it's gonna come out, and like planning out how I'm gonna build it and like all this stuff. Or I think it was already out and I was planning out how I'm gonna change it and stuff like that, like to adapt to the meta, because it was literally just like Link Joker at the time. And I remember it was just so fun to do that. Like, I have these really nice memories with it. And so I'm not saying that like my love for DP comes from just memories or like these things, but the most important thing really is just this like feeling of attachment, in the sense that like this is part of what pushed me through in a bad time. And like, you know, whether it's Gurren Lagann or my friend or DP, it's like all these things kind of came together to kind of turn me into the person I am now. This sounds really weeby, like I don't mean it to sound so weeby, but it really is. Like, the reason why I've become like confident in like presentations, or like, you know, you see me on the world stage, like I think if I still had stage fright like I did back in high school, that would not be the case. And the fact that I'm even pursuing this career in like research and teaching and potentially commentating is only because of that, and because of that first push that I had, which was a result of these three things mixing in. And so for me, DP always holds a really, really like a tight space in my heart in that sense, because it's like, even if Vanguard had to end one day, like I will always remember DP as like the thing that like Dimension Please means a lot to me, and Daikaiser as a card means a lot to me, and that's why I'm always kind of praying for a retrain, please, in V-Series. But even if it doesn't, I don't really mind, because like the card exists, and like it doesn't matter if it doesn't exist in Standard, the card itself exists, and the fact that it exists means a lot to me. And so like, it's just, yeah, I guess it's these three things mixing together, and that's why DP is so important to me. And so I want to invite you guys as well in the comments to tell me your stories of your favorite clan and why it is your favorite. I mean, there are people that literally say like, oh, like this clan is my favorite because it looks cool, you know, or it's their favorite because they're like some random guy when they were a kid gave them a card. But, you know, a lot of people have different reasons why their main clan is their main. And for me, Shadows was my main for a while just because I liked Dark Knights and stuff, and I like that's what most Shadow Paladin players like it for, I think. But whereas DP, it really was something different for me at the time, and it was this newfound interest in robots and mecha, and also just the message that a simple, it's really strange how a simple effect can carry a message, you know. That's, I don't really think about that too much, but it really was like the fact that it clicked in my brain that I was like, wait, this is just like believe in yourself and do the impossible kind of thing, and I was like, whoa, you know. And so, yeah, that's kind of why I main DP, and I always will, really, because it means a lot to me. It really does mean a lot to me, and no matter what direction it goes in, I'll always like it. Even if it's terrible, I'm really happy when it's good. Like with Dieliner, when it was good in Standard, I was happy. With Daikaiser and Sinbuster, literally my favorite deck of all time, that was great for the deck as well. So whenever the deck is good, I'm really happy. Even if it's not, it's okay. I play other decks because I like playing the game and I like enjoying other decks, but even if, you know, also I hope I've been showing the card properly in shots, because I am zoomed in, I just realized. But yeah, so it's like, for me, I'm always happy with DP, so that's kind of the point to take back here. So yeah, that's going to be it for this video. Again, let me know your guys' stories in the comments. I'm definitely very interested to give them a read. I'm sure they'll be quite long, so I can enjoy this with some breakfast and whatnot while I'm in Tokyo. So this is filming this right before I leave, actually. It's currently like 8:30, so I gotta finish packing and get ready to go. But yeah, thank you so much for watching and for listening to my ramble story, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye bye.